And we are recording. Hello, Susannah. How are you today?
Hi, Kate. I'm great. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So, hello, everybody. My name's Kate Cherry, and I'm an independent consultant and brand ambassador with Arbonne International. And I'm here today with the lovely Susannah Alexander of Nutrition with Susannah. Susannah and I have known each other, I'd like to say probably 5 years maybe, because we met networking in London, and more recently we've seen each other again in some of my networking groups. Susanna's been able to visit thanks to networking online, and Susanna, you're actually in Scotland right now, aren't you? So you've been able
I
to.
am, yes. I'm in the gorgeous Highlands overlooking Loch Ness. It's wonderful.
Beautiful. So you were able to go up there during the pandemic, and actually you're still there now because a lot of your work's remote, although I know we discussed that you're going to have to come back for some of your work. But the reason I've come online to cut to the chase is that Susanna came to one of my meetings in July, and I love when I get little alarm bells, I need to pay attention to them. And one of the things Susanna said in her monthly minute, which is where you present what it is you do and what you're looking for, she said that she's a size-friendly nutritional therapist, which was a term she hadn't used before, given that we've known each other a long time. It's not one that I'd picked up on so much. And also then then started talking about the topic of body shaming and visiting the doctor, and those standards were meant to be sort of slotted into in terms of how we should be and what we should look like. And I absolutely love that topic because you know that I'm big on the difference between putting a band-aid medically on something when something goes as wrong as you need to see a doctor versus looking after yourself, and that can be whatever that means to you, and that's whatever size it is that you are and you want to be, and it doesn't always have to mean skinny mini, and not everyone wants to become a skinny mini. So Susanna, I'll let you talk for 5 seconds. um, Tell us how did tell us about you briefly. How did you come to do what you do, and tell us what you do?
I'm a registered nutritional therapist. What that means is that I've done an accredited course in nutritional therapy. In my case, I have a first class honours degree from the University of Westminster. And I started off wanting to teach children to cook. And actually, I do. I run a healthy cookery club for kids. But in wanting to do that, I decided to learn about food chemistry so I could teach more children more about the actual food they were making. I didn't find a food chemistry course. I found a nutritional therapy night school. I went along there and I fell in love. And I thought, this is absolutely awesome. You know, we've all got to eat. So, you know, if we can, what's not to like about eating in the most supportive way for our amazing bodies? So I decided I can't leave it at night school. I've got to go and do a degree. And that's what I did. And of course, you know, I am a woman in a larger body, and I always have been. You can see photographs of me of 2, 3 years old. I was in a larger body then. You know, it's one of those things. And of course, you know, when you're in a larger body, you always get told that you must be in a smaller body. And you know, that's what I've spent my life doing, trying to be in a smaller body. And you know, sometimes it's worked for a little while, and most of the time it hasn't. But over the years that I've been practicing, I've come to realize that there's actually a role for me, not in trying to apologize for my body or in trying to change my body, but in trying to be healthy in the body that I inhabit, and in trying to encourage others to talk about their health in the bodies that they inhabit as well, and to be proud of those bodies and respectful of those bodies and love the bodies the way they are.
I love it. I love it because on the reverse side of things, you know, we've stood together. I'm tall and let's say slim, although my own personal judgment of that wavers depending on how much I've eaten and whether it's Christmas or not. And because we all do that, don't we? We'll tell ourselves a little story in our heads. And it's interesting because when I have people very close to me, when I do my 30 days to healthy living plan, will say, why do you need to do that? You're skinny anyway. And it's not about that, is it? It's about it's about your insides and how they work and how you feel and being on your game, the game you want to be on, I guess. And so how you alluded to body shaming when you go to the doctor. Elaborate on what you mean by that and what your mission is around that.
So, as I started reading more around this, it came to my attention that there were a lot of stories about women, particularly, and I suppose, I speak more to women, but I'm sure this applies to men as well, who go to the doctors with, anything which, could be an earache. It could be a sports injury, which is, in my case, is what happened to me. And the doctor will not even look at their presenting condition, but just blame everything on their weight. And, this has a lot of effects. First of all, it makes the person feel embarrassed and ashamed. And we know from the evidence that shaming doesn't work. So maybe the doctor thinks they've got good intentions. Maybe the doctor thinks if the person feels bad enough about their weight, they'll change it. Well, we know that doesn't work. We know from the evidence that doesn't work. And so the person feels bad about themselves. That probably leads them into destructive health behaviours. And it also means that they're less inclined to go back to the doctor. And it also means that the condition they've actually presented with goes untreated. And so what they present with gets worse and worse, and they don't want to go back and they don't want to go back. And when they do go back, the condition can be really, really serious. And, I mean, really serious. So one of the worst cases I heard was a young woman. She was on Instagram and she'd been to the doctor. She had the most terrible stomach pain. She couldn't eat. She was just feeling absolutely awful. And she said, I haven't been able to eat. And the doctor said, well, maybe that's not such a bad thing, and sent her away. And luckily she was on Instagram, and there were a couple of doctors on Instagram who said, actually you must go back to the doctor because this pain you're in is not normal. So she went back, saw another doctor. She had stage 3 cancer. Oh. And if she'd just taken it for granted and been sent away, she could have died. And this is not an isolated story. This is literally happening all the time. And I know women who are literally scared to the point of tears to go to the doctor, and that's not all right. I myself, I don't want to go into the full story here, but I presented to a health professional with quite a serious mental health condition, and instead of dealing with that condition or addressing that condition, they said, well, you'll better lose some weight then, as though that was, the reason for a mental health condition is not weight. Some people can feel depressed because of their weight, but that certainly wasn't what I was presenting with. Shape. So, and that happened to me when I was very vulnerable and not able to fight back or advocate for myself. And, and I'm quite an articulate person, you can probably tell. So if it can happen to me, it can happen to absolutely anybody, and it might happen to somebody more vulnerable. And the thing is, then also people feel like they can't talk about their health, because I think particularly for people in larger bodies, but sometimes in people in very thin bodies as well, it's assumed that you don't care about your health. It's assumed that you don't do healthy behaviors, and actually that could be true or it could be not true. And nobody can judge what your health is or what your health behaviors are by the body you're in. And so people feel like, oh, I can't talk about my health because nobody thinks I'm serious about my health. Nobody, think it's almost like I don't have the right to have a health conversation or have my health taken seriously. Yeah. So I really want to say to anyone who's had that experience, you can come to me without the feeling of judgment, and you can come to me without the feeling of shame. And you don't have to apologize for anything that you do in your body, or any behaviors that you have with your body, or any feelings you have about your body, because I've been through the whole body hate thing myself as well. So if you're there, my gosh, I totally get it. And what's more, I respect your body, and I want to teach you about how your body works, because I want you to understand your body, because only through understanding can you have the power to make the right health decisions and advocate for yourself. Whatever those health decisions are, I'm here to support you making them, and to really learn your body and understand it and be a partner with it.
And disassociating the term health choices with it meaning large, not large, small, thin, size 10, size 14, whatever. It's there's so many other factors at play. And would you agree that sometimes people in those situations then end up faddy dieting and starving themselves, thus making the problem even worse, because potentially there's something going on that needs better attention than starving yourself and faddy dieting? Because I know you've mentioned this before. Is that without proper support? Is that a byproduct of that
Yeah, I
experience?
mean, it absolutely can be. You know, I think people who feel shame are vulnerable, and they want a quick solution, because we all want quick solutions to things in the digital age. And you know, they will jump on the latest thing, whether or not it's evidence-based. Now, the truth is that all diets, all forms of dieting, whatever you want to call them, will probably fail most of the time. The evidence shows time and time again that the percentage of people in larger bodies who can lose weight and keep it off over a 5-year period is less than 5%. With someone with a body like mine, my chances of achieving a quote unquote normal body weight are about 0.8%. So, you know, if that makes people feel bad, don't feel bad. You are not alone, and a fad diet isn't going to help you to feel healthier. You know, what's going to help you to feel healthier is understanding what's going on in your body and working with that. And, you know, there's evidence coming out now, although you know, we need much more evidence, but there is a lot of evidence coming out now to say that it is the health behaviors, not the size of your body, that makes a difference. In other words, if you are, you know, within your capacity, and I do recognize that health is a privilege, absolutely, and I do recognize that health is not entirely within your control, and I do recognize that there are some bodies that can never be quote unquote healthy, and that some people can't afford or don't have the safety or the capacity to do those behaviors. But insofar as it's within your power to do so, if you are someone who is active, if you are somebody who is able to nourish your body, if you are somebody who's able to sleep well, manage your stress, these things will have a positive impact on your health, regardless of whether your body size changes. So whatever body you're in, you have the right, if you want to, and if you choose to, and if it's within your ability to do so, to pursue those behaviors and to have respect and support for pursuing those behaviors, and to pursue them in a way that's congruent with the needs and requirements of your particular body and your particular likes and preferences. And your particular culture as well, because this is sometimes something we forget a lot, is that a lot of cultural foods tend to be dismissed, and we shouldn't be dismissing people's cultural foods. We should be working within people's cultural contexts.
Absolutely, and different cultures have a different ideal shape and size of women, in particular of women, don't they?
Absolutely.
And I think, without being too detailed about the situation in the last 18 months to 2 years, but something that has grated for me is the labeling of people who've got very unwell with no pre-existing conditions. And that's always raised a little alarm bell with me. Just because someone's young and looks fit and is maybe slimmer does not mean they don't necessarily have any underlying conditions that we don't know about yet. You know, there are people walking around with potentially stuff going on inside, but because they run a 10k every now and then and look fairly slim, let's say, we think. And it's similar the other way around. Just because someone is a bit larger doesn't necessarily mean they're not fit and healthy. And
we have to remember that medical weight stigma impacts thinner people as well as larger people. So, for example, I'm an expert in a Facebook group, and there was a lady in there who really strongly believed she had dysregulated blood sugar, and you know, she had sort of the symptoms of type 2 diabetes. And she went to her doctor and she said, "Can I get a test?" She said, "Well, I don't need a test. You're a normal weight." And you know, yes, weight is could potentially be a contributing factor to type 2 diabetes, but thin people get it too. And there's no reason why she might not have dysregulated blood sugar. That can apply to somebody in any kind of body. So, you know, let's not think this is just about people at a particular size. It affects us all. And you know, you're absolutely right. You know, first of all, you can have a perfect looking body, but perhaps be less healthy on the inside and perhaps not practice such health behaviors. But also, let's not forget, we don't know very much about coronavirus. We don't really know who it affects and who it doesn't. You could be perfectly healthy and still be very seriously affected by it, because it's a very strange virus that we don't really know enough about to say who is more likely to be impacted and who is less likely. We don't know that completely.
Absolutely, it's not as black and white as that. And so, Susannah, I could talk to you forever, but tell us, how can we help? Well, firstly, how can we contact you? I will tag you on this wherever I put it, but what's the best way to reach out to you?
Thank you. So the best way to be in touch with me at the moment is on my Facebook page, which is called Nutrition with Susannah, like my business. So you can come onto that page and it's free. I also have a free group called Susannah's Nutrition Kitchen, where I sort of talk about this body positive stuff a little bit more, run challenges. If I'm doing a paid thing, then you get the best deals on that. If you're not on Facebook, you can also find me on LinkedIn and on Instagram. And my handle on Instagram is Eat Well Feel GR and the number 8.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, perfect, lovely and easy. And so, just to wrap up, then, I've loved talking about this with you, because of that misconception. I think also, in terms of what my business is and what I, preach about healthy living, and you are what you eat and you are what you absorb and all of that, and being mindful of the toxins going into and onto your body. But I feel it's important to dispel those myths around, we're not necessarily talking about size here. However, that can be a massive have a massive impact on how people feel about themselves. I've had people not want to do an interview like this because they feel they look overweight on camera, and I think that's such a shame. When that, anyway, I could go on forever, but
I mean, I can probably assure most people who think they look fat on camera that in the flesh I'm probably fatter than they are. And I go on camera every week, I teach on camera, I've just done a public reading in front of like 200 people on camera. It's our bodies are amazing. I mean, what we have to remember is we can't always love our bodies, but we can always be in awe of our bodies, because they're doing incredible things for us every minute of every day. And if you just stop and think about some of those things your body does, you can't fail to be in awe, even if you're not at a stage where you can love your body yet or all the time. And I'm not. Sometimes, I have a bad relationship with my body, but my goodness, I'm in awe of it.
I love that. I know. I'm doing a mini version of what the degree you did at the moment, and I'm doing a nutrition course with the NCM, and I totally get where you were, that it's addictive, because it's once you find out what is in each plant we consume and everything we consume, and how it serves the body and how all that functions, it's absolutely incredible. And you start to really appreciate the power we have in our hands to feel good, and to feel better, and to help, like you said, the person who goes away from the doctor and comes back and the problem's a million times worse because of how they were treated, or rather not treated. Where you realize how much you can help yourself with prevention, which is always way better than cure. How can we help you? What's a good contact, or what type of client, what's your ideal client you're looking for at the moment? What have you got coming up?
So actually, I'm my ideal people at the moment are mums who can't sleep. So for 2 reasons. The can't sleep bit is because I'm running a 4-week sleep course. So sleep and nutrition, sleep and lifestyle. It's going to be awesome. It's really interesting. I've done a huge course map and it looks brilliant. I'm actually doing a 5-day slumber party right now. I don't know when this video is going out, but week of 23rd of August, I'm doing a 5-day slumber party, which is £1 a day. So if anyone wants to pop in for that, that's great fun as well. And the mums bit is because I do a healthy kids cookery club called Kids in the Kitchen, and it's designed to enable kids to have fun in the kitchen, and also particularly kids that are free from, that have dietary requirements, because very often they miss out on school cooking things, for example. And also school cooking things, they can be a bit limited to baking. I want to give kids a much wider experience. So all the food we do is vegetarian friendly. All the food can, if you like, but doesn't have to be gluten-free, dairy-free, and refined sugar-free. So that's aimed primarily at children aged 7 to 14.
Perfect. I love it. Wonderful. And feel free whenever you see this posted to add some of those links in the comments. But Susannah, it's been fantastic to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time. And if you would like to contact Susannah, then go ahead, and she's tagged in this, and then you know where I am for questions for me. But thanks for your time again, Susannah. Take care.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Kate. It's been a pleasure.
You're welcome.